I supported my wife's empowering photo shoot, only to discover she posed nude with a stranger. Now I'm questioning everything about our 8-year relationship. I, 30M, never thought I'd be in this situation. My wife Kathleen, 28F, and I have been married for 5 years, together for 8. We met in college. I was a senior and she was a sophomore. We hit it off immediately at a mutual friend's party. Kathleen was this bubbly, outgoing art major who could light up a room. I was more reserved, studying business, and planning to join my dad's company after graduation. Despite our differences, we complemented each other perfectly. Kathleen brought out my adventurous side, while I helped ground her when she got too impulsive. We dated long distance for 2 years after I graduated, but the spark never faded. When she finished school, Kathleen moved to my city, and we got married a year later. We've built a good life together. I work in marketing at my dad's firm, and Kathleen teaches art at an elementary school. 2 years ago, we welcomed our son Jack. Parenthood has been challenging but rewarding. Kathleen is an amazing mom. Throughout our relationship, Kathleen has been friends with a local photographer named Lisa, 45F. Lisa mainly does weddings and family portraits. She shot our engagement photos, wedding, and family pictures over the years. She always gave us great discounts, and I appreciated her friendship with Kathleen. Lisa seemed like a positive influence. She was successful, creative, and encouraged Kathleen to pursue her artistic passions. About 3 months ago, Kathleen mentioned that Lisa had asked her to do a fitness photo shoot. Kathleen had recently lost all her baby weight through diet and exercise. She'd been doing this intense workout program and was feeling really good about her body. I was supportive of the idea and told Kathleen to go for it if she wanted to. I figured it would be a confidence boost for her. We discussed the photo shoot a few times leading up to it. Kathleen seemed excited, but a little nervous. She assured me it would just be tasteful fitness shots and workout gear. I had no reason to doubt her. Kathleen has always been pretty modest. Even at the beach, she prefers one-piece swimsuits. The idea of her doing anything more lewd never even crossed my mind. The photo shoot happened in early May. When Kathleen came home that day, she seemed a bit off but said everything went well. I didn't push for details, figuring she'd share the photos when they were ready. Weeks went by, and Kathleen never brought it up again. I found that a little odd, but got busy with work and life and didn't think much of it. Looking back now, there were some signs that something was up. Kathleen became more withdrawn and distracted. She was on her phone constantly, but would quickly put it away if I came near. Our sex life, which had been great since Kathleen got in shape, suddenly dropped off. She always had an excuse: headache, tired, etc. At the time, I chalked it up to normal ebbs and flows in a marriage. Now I wonder if it was guilt eating away at her. Fast forward to last week. I was at work when I got an email from Lisa with a link to a preview gallery of Kathleen's photo shoot. I was excited to finally see how the photos turned out. I figured I'd wait until I got home to look at them with Kathleen. But curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked the link. What I saw made my heart stop. It wasn't just fitness photos, there were full nude shots of my wife. And in many of the photos, she was posing intimately with a male model I'd never seen before. This guy was young, maybe early 20s, and built like a Greek god. I felt sick to my stomach as I scrolled through dozens of provocative photos. Kathleen and this guy in various states of undress, in suggestive poses. Him touching her breasts, laying on top of her straddling him. The final photos showed them completely naked, simulating sex acts. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My mind was racing. How could Kathleen do this? Why would she agree to pose like that with a stranger? Had something more happened between them? Why did she lie to me about it for months? In a daze, I called Kathleen. She was out of town visiting her parents with Jack. When I asked about the photo shoot, she got very quiet and said she couldn't talk. I pressed her, and she finally admitted that yes, the shoot had gotten a little out of hand, but she swore nothing actually happened with the male model. She begged me not to make any rash decisions and said we'd talk when she got home. I'm devastated and don't know what to think. Kathleen and I have always had such a solid relationship. We've been through a lot together: job changes, family drama, the stress of new parenthood. Through it all, we've always been a team. I never once worried about her cheating or being unfaithful. Now I feel like my whole world has been turned upside down. The woman in those photos doesn't even seem like my wife. The Kathleen I know is sweet, a little naive, and blushes at dirty jokes. How did she end up in such explicit poses with a strange man? Part of me wants to believe it was just a stupid mistake that got out of hand. Kathleen can be impulsive sometimes, and has trouble saying no to people. Maybe Lisa pressured her into it and things snowballed. But why did she hide it from me for so long? Why agree to do such explicit shots with a stranger in the first place? I can't get the images out of my head. I love Kathleen and we have a child together, but I don't know if I can move past this. The trust is shattered. I feel like such an idiot for being so supportive of the photo shoot idea in the first place. If I had known what it would turn into, I never would have agreed. I'm also furious with Lisa. She's known us for years. How could she put Kathleen in that position? And then, to send me those photos without warning, it feels like a huge violation. I trusted her as a friend and professional. Kathleen gets home tomorrow and we're supposed to talk. I have no idea what to say or do. Part of me wants to forgive her and work it out for Jack's sake. But another part feels like this is unforgivable. I keep imagining that guy's hands all over my wife's body. Even if they didn't have actual sex, it feels like cheating to me. I'm worried about how this will affect Jack if we split up. He's only 2, but he's so attached to both of us. The thought of only seeing him part-time breaks my heart, but I also don't want him growing up with parents who don't trust each other. I'm completely lost and would appreciate any advice. Has anyone been through something similar? Is there any way to rebuild trust after this kind of betrayal, or am I kidding myself thinking we could ever move past it? Right now, I'm just trying to hold it together until Kathleen gets home. I haven't told anyone in our families or friend group yet. Part of me is embarrassed. I feel like such a fool. I'm dreading having to explain this to everyone if we end up separating. I never imagined I'd be in this position. I thought Kathleen and I would grow old together. Now I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at her the same way again. Any thoughts or advice would be greatly appreciated as I try to navigate this nightmare. Update 1. Thank you all for the supportive comments and advice on my original post. I really appreciate having a place to vent and process all this. Here's an update on the situation. Kathleen came home yesterday and we had a long, emotional conversation about everything. She broke down crying almost immediately and kept saying how sorry she was. According to Kathleen, this is what happened. The photo shoot started off as planned with just fitness workout-themed photos. But as they were wrapping up, Lisa suggested doing some artistic nude shots. Kathleen was hesitant, but Lisa assured her it would be tasteful and empowering. Kathleen had a few glasses of wine to calm her nerves, and agreed. Things escalated from there. Lisa brought in the male model, Jake, 25M, who Kathleen had never met before. Lisa pushed them to do more, and more provocative poses together. Kathleen claims she felt very uncomfortable, but was too intimidated to speak up or stop things. She says nothing sexual actually happened with Jake. It was all simulated for the photos. I asked Kathleen why she didn't tell me the truth afterward. She said she felt ashamed and was scared of how I'd react. She convinced herself that if she just pretended it never happened, everything would be fine. She swears she never had any contact with Jake after the shoot. As Kathleen was explaining all this, memories from our past started flooding back. I remembered how shy and insecure Kathleen was when we first met in college. She had strict parents and little dating experience. It took months for her to feel comfortable being intimate with me. That's part of why this whole situation is so shocking. The Kathleen I know would never agree to pose nude with a stranger. But then, I recalled other times when Kathleen's people-pleasing tendencies got her into trouble. Like when she agreed to be maid of honor for a demanding bridezilla friend, even though it was causing her extreme stress. Or how she kept babysitting for her sister's badly behaved kids, because she felt guilty saying no. Kathleen has always struggled with standing up for herself and setting boundaries. I guess I never realized how serious an issue it was until now. As she described feeling frozen and unable to stop the photo shoot, I felt a mix of sympathy and frustration. I wish she had been strong enough to walk away, but I know confrontation is really hard for her. I told Kathleen how hurt and betrayed I feel. Even if nothing physical happened with Jake, she still lied to me for months and let another man touch her intimately. The trust between us is broken. Kathleen begged me not to leave her. She said she'd do anything to make it right, cut off contact with Lisa, go to marriage counseling, whatever it takes. She kept saying it was the biggest mistake of her life and she'd regret it forever. Seeing Kathleen so distraught was really difficult. Despite everything, I still love her. We've been through so much together. I flashed back to holding her hand through 36 hours of labor with Jack, slow dancing at our wedding, comforting each other when her mom was diagnosed with cancer last year. It's hard to reconcile those memories with the betrayal I'm feeling now. I'm still processing everything and told Kathleen I need some time and space to think. I'm staying with my brother for a few days. Kathleen is devastated but respecting my need for distance. It's killing me to be away from Jack, but I know I need to get my head straight before I can be fully present as his dad. I'm so torn on what to do. On one hand, I still love Kathleen, and we have a family together. Maybe this was truly just a horrible lapse in judgment that spiraled out of control. But on the other hand, the lying and betrayal cut so deep. I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again or fully trust her. I'm also furious with Lisa for pressuring my wife into this situation and violating our privacy by sharing those photos with me without Kathleen's knowledge. I trusted Lisa as a friend for years. She's been to our home for dinner parties, watched Jack when we had date nights. To think she would exploit Kathleen like this, Makes me sick. I'm considering taking legal action against her photography business. The hardest part right now is explaining the situation to friends and family. My brother knows the basics of why I'm staying with him, but I've been vague with others about why Kathleen and I are taking some space. I'm dreading having to tell our parents if we end up separating. Kathleen's mom is still recovering from cancer treatment. I worry the stress of this could negatively impact her health. For now, I'm focusing on self-care and spending time with supportive friends and family while I figure out my next steps. I've been hitting the gym hard to work out my frustrations. I have a consultation scheduled with the divorce lawyer next week, just to understand my options. I'm not making any rash decisions yet, but I need to protect myself and Jack. Kathleen texts me daily with apologies and promises to change. She says she's looking into therapy to work on her self-esteem and boundary issues. I appreciate that she's taking steps, but I don't know if it's enough to save our marriage. I keep going back and forth between wanting to forgive her and feeling like this betrayal is insurmountable. One minute I'm remembering all our happy times together. The next I'm imagining her with Jake and feeling sick. I know I need more time to process before I can make any big decisions. Thank you all again for listening and offering advice during this awful situation. It helps to have an outlet to express all these conflicting emotions. I'll update again once I've had more time to think and decide how to move forward. Update 2. It's been about 2 weeks since my last update. A lot has happened, and I wanted to share where things stand now. After taking some time to process everything, I decided I couldn't simply sweep this under the rug and move on. The betrayal and breach of trust was too significant. I told Kathleen I wanted a trial separation, while I figured out if our marriage could be salvaged. Kathleen was devastated but said she understood. She moved in with her sister temporarily, and we worked out a schedule for her to spend time with Jack. It's been really hard explaining to a 2-year-old why mommy isn't living at home right now. He keeps asking when she's coming back, and it breaks my heart. During our time apart, I've done a lot of soul-searching and talked things through with close friends and family. I finally opened up to my parents about what happened. They were shocked. They've always adored Kathleen and saw her as a daughter. My mom thinks I should try to forgive her, while my dad says he'd never be able to trust her again. Their conflicting advice mirrors my own internal struggle. I've also been reflecting on our relationship history. Kathleen and I got serious pretty young. She was only 20 when we started dating. Sometimes I wonder if she missed out on exploring and finding herself. Not that it excuses her actions, but I can see how she might have been vulnerable to someone like Lisa pushing her boundaries. The overwhelming consensus from people I've talked to is that Kathleen's actions were a form of infidelity, even if no actual sex occurred. The lying and cover-up afterward made it even worse. My brother pointed out that if Kathleen could lie to me for months about this, how can I ever trust what she says again? I also did some digging into Lisa's photography business. Turns out Kathleen is not the first married woman she's pressured into explicit photo shoots with male models. I found reviews from other angry husbands online. It seems Lisa has a pattern of exploiting women under the guise of empowerment. I consulted with a lawyer about potential legal action against Lisa. While we may have a case for fraud or misrepresentation, it would be a difficult and expensive legal battle. For now, I'm focusing my energy on healing myself and figuring out the future of my marriage. Kathleen has been respecting my need for space, but texts daily to check in and tell me how sorry she is. She started seeing a therapist to work through her issues with boundaries and standing up for herself. I can see she's making an effort, but I'm not sure it's enough to rebuild the trust that was broken. Last week, Kathleen asked if we could meet up to talk in person. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. Seeing her again was harder than I expected. She looked terrible, like she hadn't been sleeping or eating well. Part of me wanted to comfort her, while another part felt angry that she'd put us in this position. Kathleen shared some revelations from her therapy sessions. Apparently, she has deep-seated insecurity stemming from an emotionally abusive ex-boyfriend in high school. He used to put her down constantly and compare her unfavorably to other girls. She realized that part of why she agreed to the photoshoot was seeking validation that she was still desirable post-baby. While I appreciate Kathleen's efforts at self-reflection, I'm not sure it changes anything. Understanding why she did it doesn't erase the hurt and betrayal. I told her I'm still very conflicted and need more time. For now, we're continuing the separation. I'm not ready to file for divorce, but I'm also not ready to reconcile. I need more time to heal and see if Kathleen can demonstrate real, lasting changes in her behavior and decision-making. This whole ordeal has made me realize I need to work on myself too. I've started hitting the gym regularly and signed up for some personal development workshops. I'm trying to focus on being the best father I can be to Jack during this difficult time. I'll update again once I've made some final decisions about the future of our marriage. Thank you all for your continued support and advice as I navigate this painful situation. Update 3. It's been about 2 months since my last update. I wanted to share where things stand now that I've had more time to process everything and make some decisions. After a lot of reflection and discussions with Kathleen, I've decided to file for divorce. While Kathleen has shown genuine remorse and made efforts to change, I realized I simply cannot move past the betrayal and broken trust. Every time I look at her, I'm reminded of those photos and the months of lying. This wasn't an easy decision to come to. Kathleen and I had several long emotional conversations over the past few weeks. She's been continuing with therapy and has made progress in asserting herself and setting boundaries. She even confronted Lisa about the inappropriate photo shoot and cut off their friendship entirely. But despite Kathleen's efforts, I just couldn't shake the feeling that our relationship was irreparably damaged. The intimacy and openness we once shared feels lost. I find myself constantly second-guessing her words and actions, wondering what else she might be hiding from me. I tried to forgive and reconcile for Jack's sake, but ultimately I know I'd be sacrificing my own happiness and mental well-being if I stayed in the marriage. I deserve a partner I can fully trust, and Jack deserves to see a healthy relationship modeled for him. Kathleen was heartbroken when I told her my decision, but said she understood. We're committed to co-parenting amicably and putting Jack's needs first. We're working with a mediator to hash out custody and financial details. It's been tough figuring out how to split time with Jack, but we're trying to keep things as stable as possible for him. Telling our families about the divorce was incredibly difficult. Kathleen's parents were devastated. They've always treated me like a son. My parents are supportive of my decision, but sad to see our family split up. Everyone is worried about how this will affect Jack in the long run. As for Lisa, I ended up filing a formal complaint with the State Photography Association about her unethical business practices. They're investigating, and she may lose her professional certification. I also left honest reviews detailing our experience on her business pages to warn others. This whole ordeal has been incredibly painful, but I'm starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. I'm focusing on healing, self-improvement, and being the best father I can be. I've joined a support group for divorced dads, which has been really helpful. It's comforting to talk to others who have been through similar situations. I'm not ready to start dating again yet, but I'm hopeful that someday I'll find a partner I can truly trust. For now, I'm concentrating on rebuilding my life as a single dad and processing all the emotions from the end of my marriage. Jack is slowly adjusting to having two homes. He still gets upset sometimes when he has to leave one parent for the other, but we're doing our best to maintain consistent routines. Kathleen and I are learning to communicate as co-parents rather than spouses. It's not always easy, but we're committed to putting Jack first. There are still days when I feel angry and hurt about what happened. I wonder if I'm making the right choice in ending our marriage. But then I remind myself of all the pain and mistrust of the past few months. As hard as divorce is, I believe it's the healthiest path forward for everyone involved. Thank you all for your support and advice throughout this difficult journey. While this isn't the outcome I would have chosen, I'm trying to stay positive and focus on building a new future for myself and Jack. I know there will be challenges ahead, but I'm hopeful that with time, things will get easier.